The story opens with a panorama of the ranch in its worst state, mirroring the protagonist's internal despair. Once a place of promise, laughter, and dreams, the ranch now stands as a symbol of failure and neglect. Fences sag under the weight of years without repair, the soil is parched and cracked, and the livestock wander with the confusion of neglect. Dust hangs in the air, settling on the remnants of abandoned tools and empty barns. The scene is quiet except for the occasional creak of a gate swinging in the wind and the distant call of a crow. These environmental details do more than set the scene. They act as a reflection of the protagonist's internal landscape, abandoned, weary, and mocked by fate. The protagonist herself is introduced as a woman in her late 20s or early 30s, worn down by hard labor and emotional stress. Her hands are roughened from years of work. Her clothing is faded and patched, and her face carries the tired expression of someone who has struggled to keep her dreams alive while facing constant obstacles. Despite the hardships, there's a spark in her eyes, a glimmer of determination and intelligence that has been suppressed but not extinguished. The story immediately positions her as someone readers can root for, relatable, strong, but vulnerable to the cruelty of those who doubt her. Enter the ex-husband, a man who once promised love and partnership, but has now become a symbol of judgment and condescension. He rides onto the property in a shiny new truck, a stark contrast to the rundown surroundings. His presence is loud, almost theatrical, as he surveys the ranch with a smirk, his words sharp and cutting. "You really let this place rot," he says, his laughter echoing across the empty fields. Each syllable is like a dagger, aimed not only at the physical state of the ranch, but at her character, her efforts, and her worth. Through his eyes, the ranch is more than broken. It's a reflection of failure, and he's eager to remind her of it. The protagonist experiences a flood of emotions during this encounter. Shame and embarrassment rise first, a bitter taste that she struggles to swallow. She remembers the nights she stayed awake, trying to repair fences or mend broken equipment, the countless hours spent battling droughts, pests, and financial strain. All those sacrifices are rendered meaningless in the eyes of her ex-husband. Anger simmers beneath the surface, mixed with a wounded pride. She wants to retort, to defend herself, but the weight of years of struggle and the sting of his mockery freeze her words. This scene also establishes a crucial emotional baseline for the story. The humiliation is not just external, it's internal, shaping her sense of self and motivating her eventual transformation. Readers see her at her lowest, but also begin to sense the latent strength within her. There's an unspoken tension. Although she is currently defeated, there's a fire waiting to ignite. The ranch, though broken, is a metaphorical canvas for her resilience. The part ends with a quiet moment of introspection. After her ex-husband leaves, still laughing over his perceived superiority, she stands alone on the porch, surveying the broken fields. Her chest is heavy, her heart a mixture of pain, anger, and determination. She touches the worn wood of the railing, feeling the rough texture under her fingers, and a resolve begins to form. She will not remain humiliated. This moment seeds the drive for the journey that will define the rest of the story, a journey not for revenge in a conventional sense, but to reclaim her dignity, rebuild her life, and ultimately prove that she is more than the sum of her failures and the scorn of those who underestimated her. After the crushing humiliation at the hands of her ex-husband, the protagonist finds herself at a crossroads. The ranch, once her dream, now stands as a symbol of failure and derision, its broken fences and neglected fields reflecting the doubts that others, especially her ex-husband, cast upon her. In this moment of despair, she faces a choice: to succumb to defeat, letting humiliation and bitterness define her life, or to rise, to reclaim her dignity, and chart a new path that is entirely her own. This part of the story delves deeply into her internal struggle, capturing the emotional complexity that propels her toward transformation. The day begins gray and overcast, the sky mirroring her mood. She walks through the empty barn, fingers grazing the dusty beams, recalling memories of laughter, hope, and early ambition. The physical decay of the ranch echoes the erosion of her confidence, yet in the midst of decay, a spark ignites, a recognition that her worth is not dictated by her ex-husband's laughter or the failures of the past. The narrative here focuses on introspection. She evaluates her life, acknowledging both her mistakes and the factors beyond her control. She knows she cannot change the past, but she can shape the future. This turning point is crucial. It sets the emotional foundation for the journey that follows. Her decision is not impulsive, but deliberate. She begins by envisioning a life free from ridicule and limitation, one in which she can stand tall, independent, and self-assured. The story emphasizes her strategic thinking. She considers her options carefully, recognizing that rebuilding the ranch immediately is impractical due to financial and logistical constraints. Instead, she decides to leave the familiar environment behind and seek opportunities elsewhere, opportunities that will allow her to gain skills, wealth, and confidence. This move represents both a physical and symbolic departure from her past, signaling a rebirth of character and purpose. At this stage, the story introduces a supporting character, perhaps an old friend, a mentor, or a kind stranger who serves as a catalyst for her transformation. This person offers guidance, encouragement, or simply a listening ear, helping her to crystallize her goals. Through their dialogue, readers gain insight into the protagonist's determination and latent potential. The mentor might say something like, "You've survived worse than this. It's not the ranch that defines you, it's the fire inside you." These words resonate deeply, reinforcing her decision to take control of her destiny. The narrative also explores the emotional undercurrents driving her choice. Anger at her ex-husband's mockery fuels a desire to prove her worth, not through vengeance, but through achievement. Pride and self-respect emerge as powerful motivators, transforming pain into purpose. She recognizes that this path will be challenging. Success will demand courage, resilience, and adaptability. Yet, the clarity of her decision brings a sense of relief and focus she hasn't felt in years. She is no longer paralyzed by shame. She is propelled by possibility. By the end of Part 2, the protagonist has taken her first concrete steps toward change. She packs her belongings, leaving behind the remnants of her past, and sets out with a sense of determination tempered by realism. She may travel to a nearby town, start work in an unfamiliar field, or invest time in learning new skills that will empower her future. This part closes with a symbolic gesture. Perhaps her lingering glance at the abandoned ranch. A quiet promise whispered to herself, she will return one day, not as the woman they mocked, but as someone stronger, richer, and wilder than anyone expects. Her journey of transformation has officially begun. Part 3 marks the beginning of the protagonist's physical and emotional journey away from her past. Having made the decisive choice to reclaim her life and dignity, she steps out of the familiar confines of the broken ranch and into a world that is both exciting and intimidating. The narrative here emphasizes transition, both literal and metaphorical, as she leaves behind humiliation, routine and stagnation, stepping toward growth, opportunity, and self-discovery. The story begins with her departure at dawn, the horizon painted in muted golds and pinks, symbolizing the promise of a new beginning. She surveys the ranch one last time, its dilapidated fences and cracked soil no longer just a sight of shame, but a symbol of the life she has survived. As she walks away, the reader feels the weight of her decision. It's not just a journey in miles, but in character. Every step she takes is a conscious effort to leave behind the ridicule and limitations imposed by her ex-husband and by years of struggle. The emotional tone is one of bittersweet determination. There's loss, but also anticipation for what lies ahead. Her initial days in a new town or environment are marked by challenges that test her adaptability and resilience. The world outside the ranch is unfamiliar. She encounters strangers who are skeptical or indifferent, forcing her to navigate social dynamics without the comfort of home or prior reputation. These moments highlight her vulnerability, reminding readers that transformation is never immediate. She faces practical obstacles as well, finding work, managing finances, and learning new systems and routines. Each difficulty is an opportunity for her to demonstrate problem-solving skills, resourcefulness, and a growing sense of self-reliance. These experiences, though uncomfortable, are essential in building the foundation for her eventual success. During this journey, the story emphasizes her internal development. She reflects on the mistakes and lessons of the past, not with regret, but as valuable guides for her decisions moving forward. Self-doubt occasionally surfaces, but she combats it with determination and vision. Readers witness her evolving mindset. Humiliation no longer defines her. She begins to see herself as capable, resilient, and deserving of success. This psychological shift is pivotal, laying the groundwork for the confidence she will exhibit later in the story when confronting her ex-husband and reclaiming her legacy. Part 3 also introduces early opportunities that hint at her future success. She may meet mentors, encounter small chances to earn or learn, or discover hidden talents she hadn't previously explored. Perhaps she takes on temporary work that allows her to observe new industries or develop a skill set, such as business acumen, financial management, or innovative agricultural methods. These small victories, though subtle, bolster her morale and provide proof that her decision to leave the ranch was not only necessary, but wise. The narrative also allows moments of reflection and quiet observation. She notices the vibrancy of the world beyond the ranch, bustling marketplaces, energetic townsfolk, or the untamed beauty of nearby landscapes. These experiences are both grounding and inspiring. They contrast sharply with the stagnation of her past, emphasizing how far she has come and what is possible with courage and perseverance. By the end of Part 3, the protagonist has taken tangible steps toward independence. Though she has yet to achieve financial security or personal triumph, the foundation of her journey is firmly established. She has left her past humiliation behind, begun to navigate challenges with grit and ingenuity, and cultivated a vision of the empowered, self-sufficient woman she is destined to become. This stage of the story is crucial, as it transforms her from a reactive character, defined by others' opinions, into a proactive one, capable of shaping her own destiny. Part 4 represents the pivotal stage in the protagonist's journey, where determination and resilience begin to produce visible change. After leaving the broken ranch and facing the initial challenges of a new environment, she starts to evolve into a stronger, more self-reliant version of herself. This part emphasizes growth, not only in terms of skills, wealth, and independence, but also in confidence, mindset, and identity. It's where the seeds of her eventual triumph take root, shaping her into someone no one, including her ex-husband, will ever underestimate again. The narrative opens with her establishing a routine in her new life. She may begin by taking a modest job or pursuing a small venture that aligns with her interests and strengths, perhaps learning advanced farming techniques, starting a trade, or managing a small business. While these activities may seem humble, they are crucial for rebuilding her confidence. Every successful task, every bit of earned income, and every challenge she overcomes reinforces her sense of competence. The story underscores her diligence and persistence. Early mornings, long hours, and late nights become her new normal, demonstrating that transformation is born of effort and consistency. Central to this part is the acquisition of new skills. The protagonist does not merely survive. She actively seeks knowledge and opportunities to grow. She may attend workshops, apprentice under a mentor, or experiment with creative methods that combine her experience with newfound insights. This learning process is often accompanied by trial and error. For instance, a venture may fail initially, or a business deal may not go as planned, but she adapts and learns from every setback. These experiences solidify her resourcefulness, proving to herself and to readers that setbacks are not roadblocks, but stepping stones toward mastery and self-sufficiency. Emotionally, Part 4 marks a shift from reactive frustration to proactive empowerment. Early in her journey, the protagonist was driven largely by anger at her ex-husband and the humiliation she endured. Now that anger becomes refined into purpose. She begins to define herself by her achievements and values rather than by others' judgments. Her self-esteem grows as she sees tangible evidence of her progress, bank savings, thriving small ventures, or recognition from her community. The transformation is not just external. It permeates her posture, speech, and presence. She carries herself with a quiet authority and a newfound fearlessness that naturally commands respect. Part 4 also explores her interactions with others. As she grows in competence and confidence, she builds meaningful relationships that support her journey. Mentors offer guidance, allies provide encouragement, and even friendly competitors push her to improve. These relationships contribute to her social and emotional intelligence, highlighting that transformation is not only about personal achievement, but also about connecting, learning, and navigating the wider world. Through these interactions, she becomes more adaptable and strategic, understanding when to listen, when to act, and how to assert herself effectively. Subtle hints of her wealth and status begin to emerge. She may acquire property, tools, or resources that were once beyond her reach, signaling the tangible results of her hard work. Yet the story emphasizes that transformation is not only about material gain, it's about mindset. She learns to make decisions confidently, take calculated risks, and trust her intuition. Her identity shifts from someone who was mocked and constrained to someone independent, capable, and resilient. By the end of Part 4, the protagonist has undergone a visible transformation. She is no longer defined by the broken ranch or her ex-husband's ridicule. She has become an empowered, resourceful, and self-assured woman. This stage lays the foundation for the dramatic events to come, her eventual return, confrontation, and ultimate triumph. Readers now see her not just as a survivor, but as someone who is actively crafting her destiny, embodying the strength, intelligence, and courage that will allow her to reclaim her life on her own terms. Part 5 is a critical turning point in the narrative, where the protagonist's transformation is put to the test. After leaving the broken ranch, overcoming early obstacles, and gradually building skills, confidence, and independence, she now faces challenges that threaten to derail her progress. This part is essential because it shows that true success is not linear. It comes with unexpected trials that test both abilities and character. The way she responds to these challenges demonstrates the depth of her resilience and sets the stage for her eventual triumph. The B story introduces a formidable obstacle, something that challenges her resourcefulness, patience, and courage. This could take many forms. A natural disaster such as a drought or flood, a betrayal by a trusted ally, or stiff competition in her new venture. The key is that the challenge is not trivial. It must have high stakes that could significantly impact her progress or security. The narrative emphasizes tension, showing her initial struggle to navigate this unexpected adversity. Her physical, mental, and emotional limits are tested, reinforcing the idea that growth often comes from discomfort and pressure. In facing this challenge, the protagonist draws upon the skills and lessons she has developed in Parts 2 through 4. Her hard work, discipline, and creativity now become practical tools. For instance, she may devise innovative solutions to a logistical problem, negotiate wisely to recover lost resources, or strategically leverage her relationships to overcome a hurdle. The story highlights her adaptability, showing that transformation is not just about knowledge or wealth, but the ability to apply them effectively under pressure. Each small victory against the challenge reinforces her confidence and sharpens her problem-solving abilities. Emotionally, this part explores the tension between fear, doubt, and determination. Even though she has grown stronger, the unexpected challenge triggers self-doubt. She might question her choices, worry about failure, or fear that her progress has been in vain. These moments of vulnerability make her more relatable to the reader and emphasize the stakes of her journey. The narrative also contrasts her current mindset with her earlier self. Unlike before, she does not crumble under pressure. Instead, she channels fear into focus, frustration into strategy, and desperation into action. This emotional maturity is a key indicator of her transformation and signals that she is ready for greater triumphs. Part 5 also allows for tension-building interactions with secondary characters. Allies may offer advice, skeptics may doubt her, and competitors or adversaries may attempt to exploit the situation. These interactions create a dynamic narrative environment, providing opportunities to showcase her leadership, negotiation skills, and emotional intelligence. By responding with a combination of assertiveness, creativity, and empathy, she solidifies her position as someone who commands respect and navigates challenges with intelligence and poise. The challenge ultimately serves as a crucible, refining her capabilities and fortifying her identity. She emerges stronger, more confident, and more self-assured than before. The narrative emphasizes that overcoming adversity is as much about internal growth as external achievement. Her ability to remain calm under pressure, think strategically, and act decisively demonstrates that she is no longer the woman who could be humiliated or underestimated. She has become someone who thrives despite obstacles, turning challenges into stepping stones toward her goals. By the end of Part 5, the protagonist achieves a significant, hard-won victory. While she may not yet be at the peak of her wealth or power, she has proven to herself, and to the reader, that she is capable of overcoming substantial trials. This victory reinforces her trajectory and sets the stage for the next stages of the story. The eventual consolidation of her success, her return to the town and ranch, and the dramatic confrontation with her ex-husband. Part 5 underscores a fundamental theme, that real empowerment is forged through struggle, and those who endure challenges with courage and intelligence emerge unstoppable. Part 6 marks a high point in the protagonist's journey, where the seeds of her hard work, resilience, and ingenuity begin to bear tangible fruit. After facing numerous challenges that tested her skills, character, and determination, she finally achieves a victory that validates her efforts and signifies the transition from struggle to success. This section is pivotal because it demonstrates that transformation is not only internal but also external. Her newfound confidence, intelligence, and resourcefulness are now recognized by the world around her. The narrative opens with the culmination of her recent efforts, a moment where all the lessons, skills, and strategies she has accumulated converge. Perhaps a business she has nurtured thrives. A complex problem she has been solving finally reaches a resolution, or she successfully navigates a situation that could have ruined her finances or reputation. The victory is meaningful because it is earned. It is not the result of luck or external rescue, but of her consistent effort, ingenuity, and perseverance. Readers see the direct link between her struggles in previous parts, leaving the ranch, learning new skills, and overcoming obstacles, and the tangible success she now enjoys. Emotionally, this victory is transformative. The protagonist experiences a profound sense of accomplishment, pride, and validation. The humiliation and self-doubt that once weighed heavily on her are now replaced with self-assurance and a deep understanding of her own capabilities. Unlike her earlier triumphs, which may have been small or partial, this victory carries weight. It signals a turning point where she is recognized not only by herself but by others for her competence and resilience. Her growth is visible in both her demeanor and her interactions. She carries herself with authority, calmness, and confidence, reflecting the inner strength she has cultivated over the journey. Part 6 also emphasizes the social and relational consequences of her victory. Allies and mentors who supported her along the way celebrate her success, while competitors or skeptics are forced to acknowledge her capability. This recognition is subtle but significant. It establishes her as a respected figure in her new environment and reinforces the idea that success is multidimensional. It is measured not only in wealth or achievement, but also in reputation, influence, and self-respect. The victory strengthens her network and provides the resources, both tangible and social, necessary for the next stages of her journey. The narrative continues to showcase her practical skills and ingenuity. For example, if she has developed a business, Part 6 may describe her making strategic decisions, negotiating effectively, or innovating in ways that set her apart from competitors. Each decision underscores that her transformation is not superficial. She is now operating from a position of expertise, experience, and strategic thinking. The story highlights the contrast between the woman who once struggled and the woman who now commands respect and achieves tangible results, making the eventual confrontation with her ex-husband even more impactful. Additionally, This victory reinforces her emotional independence. Her sense of accomplishment is not motivated by revenge, but by personal growth and self-actualization. While she is aware that her ex-husband will be surprised or even shocked by her success, her triumph exists for her own fulfillment. This emotional autonomy is a key theme. Empowerment comes not from external validation, but from the ability to rise above past humiliation and shape one's own destiny. By the end of Part 6, the protagonist stands at a pivotal threshold. She has proven to herself that she is capable, resourceful, and resilient. Her victory provides the financial stability, confidence, and social credibility she needs to plan the next phase of her journey, returning to her old hometown and facing her ex-husband. The story sets the stage for a dramatic and satisfying next act, where she leverages her achievements to assert herself fully, reclaim her legacy, and demonstrate the true extent of her transformation. Part 7 of the story is a highly anticipated moment, where the protagonist, having undergone transformation, returns to the familiar world that once mocked and underestimated her. This section is crucial because it sets up the emotional and dramatic tension between her past and present, highlighting how much she has changed and how her success now positions her as a formidable, independent figure. The return is both literal, she steps back into her old town or ranch, and symbolic, as she confronts the memories, people, and emotions tied to her previous life. The narrative begins with her arrival, often described in vivid detail to emphasize the contrast between her past and present. The once dilapidated ranch, the dusty streets, and familiar neighbors now stand in stark contrast to her polished appearance, confidence, and the aura of success she radiates. Perhaps she arrives in a carriage or a new vehicle, her clothing and demeanor reflecting her wealth and newfound sophistication. Every detail, from the way she carries herself to the subtle changes in her expression, signals the dramatic transformation she has undergone. The setting itself reacts to her presence, symbolically acknowledging that this woman is no longer the same person who once struggled and suffered humiliation. Emotionally, the return is charged with anticipation, courage, and a subtle undercurrent of vindication. She remembers the moments of scorn and ridicule, the mocking laughter of her ex-husband, and the frustration of feeling powerless. These memories fuel a quiet, controlled determination. She does not seek revenge through malice, but through the undeniable evidence of her success. The narrative captures her internal conflict. Her desire to prove herself is tempered by emotional maturity, ensuring that her actions reflect dignity, intelligence, and self-respect rather than impulsive emotion. This nuanced portrayal deepens the reader's connection with her, emphasizing the psychological growth she has achieved. The story also explores the reactions of those around her. Neighbors, townspeople, or former acquaintances may initially react with surprise, disbelief, or curiosity. The ex-husband, central to this part, is confronted with a woman who is strikingly different from the one he once mocked. The tension between recognition and shock heightens the drama. His smug confidence is replaced by uncertainty, awe, or even shame as he observes her success and self-assured presence. Through these interactions, the narrative underscores the central theme of empowerment. Her transformation is validated not by her ex-husband's approval, but by her ability to stand independently and command respect. Part 7 often includes moments of reflection and observation. As she walks through familiar streets or surveys the ranch, she notices how much has remained the same and how much she herself has changed. The ranch that once symbolized failure now seems like a challenge she can overcome. The town that once witnessed her humiliation now serves as a stage for her empowerment. These observations reinforce the contrast between her past vulnerability and her present strength, creating a rich emotional tapestry that adds depth to the story. Importantly, the return sets the stage for the eventual confrontation. By reintroducing her into the environment of her past humiliation, the story builds suspense and anticipation for Part 8, where she asserts her transformation more directly. Her return is both a culmination of her journey so far and a setup for the dramatic revelations to come. It signals that the protagonist is ready to reclaim control, demonstrate her achievements, and assert the full extent of her self-reliance and power. By the end of Part 7, the protagonist is firmly positioned in her old world as a new figure, confident, capable, and unapologetically herself. The reader sees her poised to confront the past and face her ex-husband on her own terms, with dignity and authority. The return is more than a physical homecoming. It is the moment where her inner transformation begins to ripple outward, setting the stage for confrontation, validation, and ultimate empowerment. Part 8 is the emotional climax of the story, where the protagonist faces her ex-husband, the very person who once humiliated and underestimated her. This section is pivotal because it transforms the tension built over the previous parts into a dramatic and psychologically satisfying encounter. The confrontation is not only external but internal, reflecting her personal growth, resilience, and emotional maturity. It is the moment where the full contrast between her past vulnerability and present strength becomes undeniable. The scene often begins with the ex-husband's surprise at her unexpected return. He may have anticipated a timid, defeated woman, but instead is confronted with someone who exudes confidence, independence, and even a hint of wildness. Her appearance, demeanor, and aura reflect the journey she has undertaken, the long hours of labor, the hardships overcome, and the skills and wealth acquired. Every detail of her presence signals transformation. Her posture is upright, her voice calm yet authoritative, and her eyes convey intelligence and self-assurance. The narrative emphasizes the shock and disbelief in his reaction, highlighting the dramatic shift in their dynamic. Emotionally, the confrontation is layered. The protagonist feels a complex mix of satisfaction, vindication, and emotional closure. She does not seek revenge in a cruel or petty way. Instead, her power lies in her achievements, her independence, and the quiet authority she commands. This makes the confrontation far more compelling than a mere argument or outburst. The ex-husband's previous laughter and ridicule now seem hollow in comparison to the tangible evidence of her growth. The story underscores that true empowerment is not about hurting others, but about rising above past limitations and redefining oneself on one's own terms. Dialogue and subtle interactions are key in this part. The ex-husband may attempt to belittle her again or feign surprise, only to be met with calm, measured responses that reveal her intelligence and composure. Perhaps he tries to comment on the ranch, her wealth, or her reputation, but she responds with grace and authority, making it clear that she is no longer subject to his judgment. These exchanges reinforce her self-confidence and showcase her strategic thinking. She knows how to assert her power without resorting to hostility. The contrast between his arrogance and her composed authority heightens the dramatic impact. The confrontation also serves to highlight the protagonist's emotional growth. Where she once felt fear, shame, and insecurity in his presence, she now feels control, independence, and inner strength. She can face him without the weight of past humiliation because she has redefined herself. This internal victory is as important as any external acknowledgement. Readers witness her ability to turn pain into motivation, shame into determination, and ridicule into a quiet but powerful triumph. Symbolically, Part 8 demonstrates the complete reversal of roles. The ex-husband, once the dominant figure in her life, now finds himself confronted by a woman who has surpassed him in competence, confidence, and social stature. He is no longer in a position to mock or control her, emphasizing the story's central theme. Personal transformation and empowerment outweigh the judgments of others. Her presence challenges his assumptions, and his reaction reflects both awe and the subtle shame of underestimating her. By the end of Part 8, the confrontation is resolved without overt vengeance, but with undeniable authority and validation. The protagonist has asserted herself fully, demonstrating the power of perseverance, resilience, and self-belief. The ex-husband's perception of her has been permanently altered, not through aggression, but through the undeniable evidence of her transformation. This sets the stage for the final parts of the story, where she consolidates her success, builds her legacy, and fully embraces the independence and freedom she has fought for. Part 9 explores the lasting impact of the protagonist's journey, showing how her transformation affects not only her personal life, but also the people and environment around her. Having overcome humiliation, mastered new skills, and confronted her ex-husband, she now moves into a phase of consolidation and influence, where her success becomes both tangible and symbolic. This section highlights the broader significance of personal growth and empowerment, emphasizing that true triumph is measured not only in wealth or status, but also in the positive changes one fosters in the world. The narrative begins by showing the protagonist actively shaping her environment. She may choose to revitalize the ranch she once abandoned, applying the knowledge and skills she gained during her journey. Broken fences are repaired, crops are flourishing, and livestock are well cared for. These physical improvements serve as concrete symbols of her resilience and resourcefulness. They also demonstrate that her success is sustainable, rooted in diligence, intelligence, and strategic thinking, rather than temporary luck. By investing her effort and resources into rebuilding the ranch, she transforms a place of past humiliation into a monument to her achievement, signaling both to herself and to others that she has reclaimed her life fully. Her legacy also extends to the community and people around her. Perhaps she employs local workers, mentors young individuals, or helps struggling neighbors with her expertise. These actions reflect her growth not just as a competent individual, but as a leader and influencer in her social sphere. Her experiences have endowed her with empathy, wisdom, and a desire to uplift others, creating ripples that extend beyond her personal gain. The narrative emphasizes that empowerment is amplified when shared, and that true strength includes the ability to inspire, guide, and nurture others. Part 9 also underscores the protagonist's internal satisfaction. She has not only achieved wealth and independence, but has created a meaningful life aligned with her values and goals. Emotional fulfillment is a central theme here. She can now look back on her past with understanding, acknowledging the struggles that shaped her while appreciating the strength they gave her. Unlike her ex-husband or past critics, she measures success on her own terms. This internal alignment between values, achievement, and self-respect is portrayed as the ultimate marker of maturity and personal power. In addition, her legacy may involve the subtle reshaping of social dynamics. The ex-husband, neighbors, or former detractors now recognize her accomplishments and self-assurance. While the protagonist's goal is not to incite jealousy or prove a point, the respect she earns naturally alters their perception. This demonstrates that legacy is not only about material contributions, but also about the influence one has on others' attitudes and expectations. By embodying resilience and integrity, she redefines the way those around her perceive strength and capability, leaving a lasting impression that extends beyond immediate achievements. The narrative also explores symbolic gestures of closure and continuity. She may implement traditions, create opportunities for future generations, or establish a model of excellence that others can aspire to. These actions reinforce the idea that a legacy is both personal and communal, anchored in tangible accomplishments while inspiring growth and aspiration in others. The protagonist's journey comes full circle. She transforms a past marked by humiliation into a future defined by empowerment, respect, and enduring impact. By the end of Part 9, the protagonist has established herself as a figure of authority, competence, and inspiration. Her journey from a mocked, struggling woman to a confident, resourceful leader is complete, and she now has the ability to influence and uplift her world. The legacy she builds ensures that her success is not fleeting, but lasting, demonstrating that true empowerment is holistic, encompassing achievement, personal growth, and the ability to positively affect the lives of others. This part sets the stage for the final chapter, where she fully embraces freedom, identity, and the unrestrained joy of her newfound life. Part 10 serves as the emotional and narrative culmination of the protagonist's journey, bringing closure to her story while highlighting her ultimate empowerment and liberation. After years of struggle, humiliation, transformation, and confrontation, she finally reaches a state where she is fully independent, self-assured, and unbound by the expectations or judgments of others. This part emphasizes freedom in its truest sense. not merely financial or social, but emotional, psychological, and existential. The narrative opens with her embracing the life she has built, a life shaped by her own efforts, intelligence, and resilience. The ranch, once a symbol of failure and scorn, now flourishes under her care. Crops grow vibrant, livestock are healthy, and the property radiates a sense of order and abundance. Beyond material success, her presence exudes confidence and autonomy. She moves through her surroundings with ease, her gestures and expressions reflecting a profound sense of control and self-possession. This setting is a metaphor for her internal state. A once chaotic and oppressive environment now mirrors her mastery over her own life. Wild freedom also manifests in her mindset and emotional state. She no longer seeks validation from her ex-husband, neighbors, or anyone who doubted her. The past, while acknowledged, no longer exerts power over her emotions. The story emphasizes her inner peace, balance, and joy, emotions that stem from the knowledge that she has triumphed through her own skill and determination. Her liberation is not vengeful. It is celebratory, reflecting maturity and self-respect. This emotional freedom allows her to enjoy her achievements fully, without fear, hesitation, or guilt. The narrative also explores her engagement with the wider world. She has built relationships, alliances, and perhaps a community around her vision and capabilities. Whether mentoring others, leading ventures, or creating spaces for collaboration, she demonstrates that freedom is not isolation. It is the ability to influence and connect from a position of strength and choice. By helping others while remaining autonomous, she exemplifies a balanced empowerment. She is free to live for herself, but her freedom also enhances the lives of those around her. This portrayal underscores that true liberation includes both independence and social impact. Symbolically, the wild aspect of her freedom is highlighted through her willingness to embrace life fully and unapologetically. She is no longer constrained by fear, societal expectations, or past humiliations. Her actions may reflect spontaneity, creativity, or boldness, taking risks she once would have avoided, exploring new ventures, or asserting herself confidently in situations that previously intimidated her. The story emphasizes that wild freedom is a mindset as much as it is a circumstance. It is the courage to live authentically, without restraint, and to pursue joy, growth, and fulfillment on one's own terms. Part 10 also provides a subtle reflection on her ex-husband and past detractors. While they may witness her thriving, she no longer measures her worth by their recognition. The narrative conveys a sense of poetic justice. She has risen above their ridicule, and their opinions no longer carry weight. This reinforces a central theme of the story. Empowerment is self-determined. Her victory over external judgments is complete, and she stands unshakable in her identity. Finally, the part concludes with a sense of open-ended possibility. The protagonist's journey, though climactic, is not entirely finished. She has freedom, resources, and self-belief to shape her future as she chooses. This ending emphasizes optimism and resilience. Her story is not just about overcoming adversity, but about embracing life boldly and fully. The imagery, dialogue, and tone in this final chapter celebrate autonomy, strength, and the exhilarating sense of being untethered from the limitations of the past. By the end of Part 10, the protagonist embodies the story's ultimate message. Through courage, determination, and self-belief, one can transform humiliation into empowerment, limitations into opportunity, and past suffering into unbounded freedom. Her journey concludes not with vengeance, but with triumph, independence, and the unrestrained joy of living life on her own terms.